Welcome back. So, a lot of albums have dropped over the past couple of days. I've had quite a bit of listening hours going on, but I wanted to focus on this album first, and we'll kind of keep going from there in sequential videos. So, James Blake and Lil Yachty with Bad Cameo has a user score of an 80% and a critic score of a 73. Very well received. And I don't think we get this album without the existence of Let's Start Here, which also has a user score of an 80 and a critic score of a 76. Back when this album came out, literally just a year ago, it was a big splash at the time, especially in the very beginning of 2023. It was a major splash, and it really just opened the doors for Lil Yachty to kind of explore any genre, any sound that he really wants to. And the way that he uses his voice, the way it's a little bit more, he's almost like kind of a melodic performer like he always has been, but I feel like it's emphasized more in the past couple of albums. It really does open the doors for him. And then we have James Blake with Playing Robots into Heaven, which coming off of that album was a little bit more kind of a return to basics, a little bit more return to that kind of, not standard, but a little bit more of kind of the EDM electronic music that kind of started off his career to begin with. So putting these two together was a very interesting contrast. And there was a part of me at one point in time where it was just like, I have no idea how this would work. But then Let's Start Here happens, and I realized that album came out, and I was just like, basically, you can do whatever you want. We'll see how this goes. And with James Blake's production, I feel that this album goes back to the sounds of Assumed Form, which is my favorite James Blake album. So it's something a little bit more interstellar, something a little bit more kind of ominous, something with a very grand soundscape to it, something a little bit more along those lines. So at the start, when I listened to this album for the first time and its whole way through, I did enjoy it, but I was disappointed. And my reasoning is that I was kind of expecting an album, especially with Lil Yachty on it, to be a little bit more, I guess, up in the pace, a little bit more kind of explosive, a little bit more kinetic in its energy. And it really took me a couple listens to realize that this is James Blake not going into Lil Yachty's world. Obviously not. It's Lil Yachty being brought into James Blake's sound, especially that Assumed Foreign sound that I really enjoy. Once I really got that down pat and I kind of listened to the album in a different way, in a different sense, this album really picked up for me, and I quite enjoy this record. In particular, some favorite parts. In Gray is probably my favorite song on the album here. The way that it's able to transport you with these amazing synths at the beginning, that the looping synth going through, and the way that Lil Yachty's vocals are processed, and also the way he's singing them just really mends well, kind of creating this amazing interstellar soundscape that you can just get lost in. And of course, the James Blake production throughout this entire album is absolutely immaculate. It's gorgeous, and it's so good at setting tones and creating a universe. You do get some moments, though, that do increase the tempo, increase, I guess, the intensity per se. You get those in Twice, and you get them in Woo, that do come at nice points of the record, where the album can be a little bit more of a slow burn experience. But when you have those two songs kind of placed in the first third and then also in the last kind of third portion of the album, it does allow the album to kind of work itself into a nice little bit of a pace. There are some moments as well, like Transport Me towards the end, that also provides a little bit of moments of kind of some rapping performance as well from Lil Yachty. Brings a great performance there, and it's a great experience. So overall, I think this album is great. I think this album is fantastic, especially once I changed my perspective to realize what I was listening to. It did really help with the experience. One thing I will say, though, is that while I do appreciate the way that the album kind of builds and progresses through the experience, I do feel like the start can start off just a tiny bit too slow. This is totally my thing. This is totally my kind of gripe and my personal preference. You're more than welcome to appreciate the way that it builds through. But in my opinion, I feel like we could have got to that faster sound of Woo and kind of a little bit more of kind of picking up the pace just a little bit quicker, especially when these first few songs are about 4 to 5, even sometimes 6 minutes long. I do feel like we can kind of get to those points a little bit quicker to make the experience that much more fluid, that much more kind of cohesive, and kind of just get you lost in the universe, and then just kind of pull you back in with some amazing kind of high tempo performances from Wu. That's really the only kind of gripe that I have with this record. And besides that, like, this album is still a very good, smooth, cohesive experience, especially for an album that's only 42 minutes long. It is great at world building, it's great at atmosphere, it's great in tone. And these two artists, as much as they seem from entirely different spectrums, they really have some really good vocal chemistry together. Because you have James Blake that has this beautiful, powerful, and very just emotive vocal performance that just works so well with the production that he has made. And then you have Lil Yachty that brings the quirkiness, that brings a little bit more of the higher kind of registers and the personality, and they really work out together. And the way that Lil Yachty's vocals work in a setting like this, that's something that's more contemplative, something that's more interstellar feeling, something that's more space-like. Again, it really just opens the doors once again. It's just like, what can Lil Yachty do to expand his sound? Because it seems that it's endless at this point. So, all that being said, overall, I had this record on my first listen about a 7 out of 10, which is still a pretty good listen, still a pretty good album. But with all of the changes that I kind of made in my mindset listening to the record, and with repeated listens, I think an 8.5 out of 10 is probably where I'm going to be going to. Great listen, great cohesive sound, something that you get the full experience. Still with 42 minutes of runtime, I still feel like that's quite impressive and something really good to note. The vocal chemistry and the way that Lil Yachty works in these performances is absolutely fantastic. And overall, I think this album is a collaboration that that we didn't know we wanted, but it's nice that we have it. And I think it's a very amazing collaboration. And I hope, honestly, these two work together again, because it worked out incredibly well. So what are your thoughts on this record? Leave your thoughts in the comments down below. Thank you very much for watching. Thank you for giving me the time to talk about this record. Again, like, comment, subscribe. Thank you very much for watching. And I'm going to be recording some more videos, so keep an eye out for those. And I will see you again very soon.